Greetings, viewers. Thanks for joining me out in the garage today with the mini truck again. Now, like I said, I had a timing set for the mini truck. You remember last time we were here, we did the clutch. I went ahead and did the brakes. You've seen me do brakes on other Toyotas. This Mini wasn't much different, so it had brakes. I took it out and I got about 100 miles on it, and it developed a miss. As I got to started diagnosing for the miss, looking for the suck, squeeze, bang, blow, let's just say one thing led to another, and before I knew it, I had no compression in cylinder number 2. I had to pull the head to find out what was wrong because I don't have a borescope. And what I found was this valve bent. My timing jumped. I was going to do the timing set next. I was trying to run the carbon out of it, you know, give her some beans. Timing jumped, valve hit the piston. Piston survived fine. It's down there in the bottom. I greased up those cylinders just so keep rust at bay till I get my parts here. Now I was gonna, if I'd have thought about it, you know, bad YouTuber that I am, I'd have broke my camera out when I tore this down. But I was driving it and it started running crappy, and I thought, I can't have that, so let's diagnose it. And if you're deep in your diagnosis zone, one thing led to another. Next thing you know, it's all in pieces. But I found the bent valve. I ordered a valve. I've ordered a head gasket kit. I got the timing set. I'm going to go ahead and put this all back together on the cheap. Yeah, I got a 22 RE coming, but I don't know when for sure. This thing's ready to go down the road. I got less than 100 miles on it with the brakes and the new clutch and everything, and then I blew the motor up in it. Didn't really blow it up, but yeah, bent that valve. So I'm going to go ahead and revive this motor, run it around for a little while on the cheap. I got everything I needed to put it back together for under 120 bucks. That's the new valve, the gasket kit. That included me buying another carb rebuild kit, because instead of nursing this jacked up gas tank with the extra big filter and the double filter and all the sediment, I'm going to pull the tank, I'm going to clean it. I'm tired of nursing that. I'm going to rebuild this carb again. I might show you that. I'll get all my poop in a group here, and we'll get this thing put back together. Now, while I got it apart, be a good time to swap my sensors out for my gauges, so I can put my gauges hooked up while I'm in here. So yeah, tearing it apart, you just take the bolts out necessary to get the piece off that you need. When I put it back together, I'll show you how it goes back together. You know, it's just the opposite when you're tearing it apart. So enough about that. I'm going to wait here till I get my parts. I'll go ahead and take some more of this front stuff off without you, but I'll show you how to put it all back together as I go. You might notice Project Rasty was sitting here on some flats for a little bit, but old Rasty got some new meats, some new used meats off of one of the junkers coming through, and a radiator. So more action with Project Rasty out in the woods coming up. Lots more mini truck action. I hope you enjoy this little build up of the engine part, keeping this truck going on the cheap. I'm loving it. I'm so happy to have it going. I only drove it around for 2 days. So enough about that. When my parts get here, we'll start going back together. For right now, I'm going to finish tearing her down. All right. First thing I want to do now that my parts are arriving is lap the valve in. I got my new valve, got all my gaskets, everything I should need to rebuild it. Gasket or valve just showed up in the Twinkie wrapper. I love it. I've never bought a valve before. It looks to be painted. I'll lap it in. We'll do that here in a minute. While I got my head kit though, it come with new valve seals. So I'm popping these valves out one at a time with this tool. Not real good at it, but I wanted to check them, go ahead and replace the seal and make sure that they were lapped in good, since I have a valve lapping kit and I've never so much as used it before. Holy shit. There you go, you squeeze that together. On the other side, you got your little retainer clips. They're beveled to go on one particular way. I don't know how important it is to get the springs and the keepers back on the same valve, but I'm doing them one at a time. I'll go ahead and pop the valve out. And then I'm looking at the lip here. Light. See how that's nice and shiny right here where the valve sits? That's clean, pretty, even. That means it's seated well and nothing needs to be done differently there. I'll turn the head over. I'm going to use my valve seal removal tool and pop that valve seal off and throw it in the trash so you don't mix it up. Grab one of your new ones, put it on there. 11mm socket fits over the spring part just perfect. Line it up. You'll hear that nice solid thunk when it hits. A little lube inside of it. Make sure it's seated down. There it is. I'm going to put the valve back on. This is just to check them. All right, if one of them needed lapped in, which the new one does, so I'll show you that. But these seem to fit really nice. I'm really pleased. You take your spring and your keeper and put it back in the tool. Set it back in the seat. Make sure when you flip the head over that none of your shims come out, because there are shims under the springs over here on this side. If you can see where I'm at here. Underneath here on the surface here, there are washers, spacers, shims, that's what I was looking for, that shim your valves. When you flip your head upside down, make sure none of those come off. They should not come off. Now I put some, I'm using ATF because that's what I have a bunch of. I'm putting some around that edge. Woohoo! Look out. Right here where the keepers go, or the little beveled pieces. Now make sure you put the bevel down. You see how they're beveled? Bevel goes down. Put one up there. Once I get them both on, I turn them sideways. And that one fell off. Hope I don't knock camera over again. And start to release your pressure. There you go. I went kind of fast. You can use grease to hold those on. I put the ATF up there and kind of hold them, and as the spring comes out, they just set right back on there again. Now I'll go around and do all of these and put new seals on. I've already put a new seal on my one that has the bad valve. Now I'm going to try to set you up so you can see. My poor tripod's in. I just broke another one. That's because I got big clumsy ass feet. It's winter time. It's cold out. I got my boots on. Hang on just a minute. See if I can. There you go. Now don't fall over. here, and I'll try to show you how to lap in this valve. I have some finished compound lapping, grinding and lapping compound. This is what you put on there to seat it. Let me pop this can open here. Oh, it's coarse on one side for roughing in and smooth on the other side for finishing. I'm going to try finishing first and see what I get, because I think it should be the right grind. We'll see if this head is still the right grind. I'm going to wipe this surface off here. Try to get it where you can see. Hopefully you can see what's happening in there. Now I bent the valve and that didn't last for too long. I found out right away that I was an idiot. I should have just replaced the timing set to start with, but I didn't. Now, I have never done this. Again, I am not an ASC certified technician, all right? We just went over that. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. I don't know if this is the right way to grind and lap a valve in, but I have lapping compound, and I think if it had a pit or something in it, I'd want to do more for it than just use the finish grind on it here. All right, now I got my compound in there. I've turned it back and forth. Now you're supposed to use the little lappy thing, or the little suction cup thing. But the whole point of it, when it's a new one, and I shouldn't have put my seal on first, because I had to take it in and out of there like 3 times. But let me wipe it off here. And what we're looking for is the same kind of smooth, even, part like was on the other one. All right, see? Can you see that? Just spinning it around in there showed me that the seat is really good. Okay, now I don't know that that was absolutely a necessary thing to do, but I had this kit. I have never changed a valve on anything ever. And yeah, so it was kind of fun to break it out and actually use it, and I did something valve related. I don't do a lot of internal work like bearings and things. I'd like to sometime, but I just never have. Oh, yeah, see, I tore that seal, son of a bitch. All right, good thing I have extras from another set. But I put that seal on, then forcing that valve through it twice and back. I have now torn it, so that's not good. That's not good. I'm gonna pop that off and change it out with another one. Hang on. I hope you learned something about valves there. I'm going to go ahead. I took this piece off of the side right here because that gasket's all one. I'm going to clean the exhaust or the intake gasket, head gasket, clean up around the head just because I've got it off. This is going to be a long process, probably a long video. All right, now I did everything I wanted to do to the head back there. And by that I mean I did valve seals on all 8. I did the new valve where it was bad, and I cleaned it all up real well. Now I came through here and I sprayed cleaner into all the threads of the head bolts, and then I blew that out with air. And then I did it a second time so that they would be clear. I don't know a lot about rebuilding engines or doing heads, but I know you don't want fluid, antifreeze oil, or anything in your head bolt holes, or it'll like hydro lock and give you a false torque reading. All right, now on my head, on my engine block, after I cleaned all this with the razor blade, I took a wire wheel on a drill and cleaned all that. You want it to be nice and smooth and clean and fresh and free of foreign debris. I did the same thing with my head. Now I've got my new valve in there. I cleaned my cylinders out the best I could. I tried to get all the gunk out and off of everything. Most important though, a good clean surface here. So I'm going to put the head back on, line up those pins. And there it goes. Now, when I was working on my valves, I made sure all my retainers, my keepers, my springs all went right back in the same place again. With my head bolts, I understand it's not that important. I took them all over and I cleaned them on the wire wheel. Yes, I'm reusing my existing head bolts. All right, once you got your head in place, grab your valve train. When the motor's in, I got to put the two rear bolts in. Make sure you're set up so your adjusters are all pointing out. If the motor's out, this isn't a big deal, but with the motors in the vehicle, you got to kind of nurse them two rears in against the firewall. Then you can set your whole valve train down. Line it up with your dowels like it wants to do. Okay, there we go. And then set it all the way down. Okay, back here to get your timing set ready. I have a set of gaskets here for the front, which is my timing cover set. There is a rubber seal for your oil pump. It goes in a groove here. You can see it going in. I'm putting this on first because I want to clean this surface here. Now I got the rubber gasket in its place. There are two dowels here that line this unit up. You want to just set it on, smush it down in there. Put a couple 3 bolts in that don't go all the way through. These two go through to hold the case or the front cover on. I got my impact set at 2. Again, you do what you think is best. I like to run it back out after I've set it on and take another look at that gasket. Geez, don't drop your freaking cover on the ground though. There are alignment tabs on your oil pump, but I don't know why. It doesn't seem like they matter for anything, but I keep those aligned on the oil pump just the same. All right, I've double checked my seal. It's good. Probably should have left it on versus dropping my oil pump on the ground. So I'm gonna run those 3 back in again. And again, this is just what I do to double check myself. You know what tool I use to take that seal out too, don't you? All right. That's good for that oil pump. Now I have a new seal here for the front. I have a new water pump gasket. Whoever did this job last or was in this motor last used a ridiculous amount of gasket sealer on everything. Man, do yourself a favor in case you're next in here and don't use gasket sealer on everything. I'm going to take my wire wheel and clean that off. I'll come back and put that seal in real quick. All right, I got that all cleaned up. Again, if your surface is not horribly pitted or irregular, you shouldn't need to add sealer to a gasket. Look at me, I got my seal install tool. You can kind of see what's going on there. Sorry for my lighting over here on this side of the shop, but I'm going to install my new front seal. You just drive it into the oil pump. You could take this over to your bench, but I like working off of the tailgate. Yeah. That seal fit real nice. Now don't forget to grease that before you put your cover on permanently. Focus on Oswald. Okay, so new front seal in. That's exciting. Oil pump drive. Don't forget to put that on in the correct orientation. I'll show you that when we get back to the front. Got this all cleaned up for the water pump. I'm going to clean a little bit more of this grease off. I'm going to get my gaskets ready for the back side. We'll go put the chain on. I'll put this front cover on. We'll bring the head bolts down. This thing will be going together. So awesome. I'm excited for it. Yeah, so let me get the front of this cleaned up just a little bit more. I'll be right back and we'll go together with some more of this. Okay, maybe you can get a better view of it from here. Your timing mark has a little dot on it. That dot needs to be pointing down. So spin your crank around until that dot is pointing downward. Go ahead and go on around here, go clockwise. And that puts your number one piston at top dead center. You can take your flashlight and look down in there and see that it is in fact at top dead center. You want to get down there a little bit and look and make sure, but it is pointing all the way down. Now your cam, the dowel pin here on your timing gear, I don't know if you can even see that down here where I put that gear, the dot at the bottom. You can't really see it. There, the dowel in here that lines up your timing gear, that needs to be at the top. Now this is an interference engine, but since nothing's bolted down yet, I can still go ahead and spin the crank and the cam independently. So I'm going to turn this until it's at the top. Make sure I'm not hitting any pistons or valves. There we go. There we go. Now that's at the top. And my crank pin dot is at the bottom. Perfect. All right, now on your chain, you'll have a bright link, or in this case, a dark link at the bottom. This one has two at the top. You put the one on the dot at the bottom. You can drop your chain down through here or feed it up from the bottom, either way. Just make sure your dot is on the bottom, or your black link. Okay, that didn't really work at all. Don't do it that way. Just do it this way, where you get your black link at the bottom and put it on there. Send the rest of your chain up through the timing cover. It's kind of easier to do it. Feed it down from the top. It must be off one, because the two at the top will straddle the dot on your top gear. So, come on now. It's a little bit of a wrestling match, but not that bad. I am one tooth off there. Go ahead and pop that off. There, I got my tooth straddling. And my cam gear up. Let me take my light and see, do I have my dark link on the bottom lined up with my dot? I don't. One more try here. I am one tooth off. Hang on. All right, now it's important for that to be on there. You see the little dot on the gear, and the black link is directly lined up with it. Then up here, you got your dot and you got your black links on either side of it. That gets you lined up. That sets your timing. Don't spin those independently if your head bolts are tight. My head bolts were loose. I was not interfering my cam, with my pistons. Now I'm going to grab my tensioners and put those on real quick. I don't know that it matters which one you put on first, but make sure you get them, both on there properly. Use your bolts with the shoulder on them that you used when it was on there originally. These bolts here, because your guides in this case are plastic, and that shoulder bottoms out and stops you from over tightening your plastic guides. Now I got my driver's side guide started. And take my passenger side guide and get it started next. I hope you can see what I'm doing, kind of-ish anyway. It's easier to do the chain if these are not in place, and then you put them in place afterward. There we go. Glad that bolt didn't go in the oil pan. Remember that the front of your oil pan is open, and you will need to change your oil after you're done with this job, because gasket debris and antifreeze, etc. gets caught up in there. All right. The last one's a little tough to get started, and I still haven't gotten it. Let me get my light down there. I'm only going to do the chain here, I think, and then I will probably stop this and do other something else on here because I need to install gauges and other things, and I don't want this video to be so long that nobody wants to watch it. But you learned how to change out a valve and install a timing set during this video anyway. Well, let me crank those down, put the tensioner on, put the front cover on, and then I might just stop this video. Oh, I wanted to crank the head bolts down too. It's interesting, the little timing marks. I like some of them have just a single one at the top, and you have to put it to the left as you're facing of your dot, but this one had a double that goes over them. Okay, you can feel when that shoulder bottoms out. So you know these are nice and tight. Let me grab my tensioner here real quick. Now you can put your fuel pump drive and your distributor drive gear on here to keep that top gear from popping off. But if you're careful, it shouldn't do that. There's a little pin on the back of this that locates it. Let me grab the bolts for it here real quickie. I think it was these two. It was. These two that are up on the top. Now this is only go one way. It's got the little guide there that guides it into place. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. And there it's in its little spot. That has nice tension. It's another way to tell when you look down in through the top, is your tensioner pushed all the way out, or is it still in like a new chain? These are also 12s. Go ahead and run them down. All right, so now I've got tension on my chain. I got my chain properly installed. I got my oil pump drive on there. I'm going to take this crank bolt back out. And go grab my timing cover. And once I get the cover on, torque the head bolts down, and I think we'll leave the rest for part 2. Now, when I ordered my timing set seal kit, it gave me both options for water pump cover gaskets, both options for water pumps, 22R and RE. And since my harmonic balancer has a groove in it from the seal over the last 240,000 miles, I got this little seal kit thing. You slide this sleeve over and Loctite it into place on your harmonic balancer before you put it in. Keeps your front seal from leaking. I'll show you that stuff too. Right now I'm just going to put the rest of the timing cover on. All right, now I complain a lot about people who put sealer on gaskets. If you need a little dab of sealer on a gasket to hold it in place while you put something on, that is perfectly acceptable. If you're not changing your oil pan gasket but taking it loose to do your timing set and you want to put some sealer on it, that's fine. But sealing a fresh gasket on a good surface doesn't make any sense. Sure, it makes a nice seal, but the next person in has to deal with that. If you think that might be you, you probably don't want to put a bunch of sealer on a plain old fresh gasket. Now, right at the corner where the timing set or timing cover and the oil or the engine block and oil pan all come together at that intersection, I caked a little bit of extra sealer. You use whatever kind works best for you. While the head is still loose, it's easy to lift it up a little bit and put the timing cover on. If you don't want to pull your head, you can still slide that cover out and back into place. Let me grab that cover. And you don't want to forget to put some grease on your seal. Now I'm going to take this down here. Mostly everything is out of my way, I believe. I'm going to bring this way. All right, now slide it on top of your oil pan, under your head gasket. Make sure you're lining up proper with your oil pump drive. You may have to turn it just a little. There we go. Oil pump drive, lining up. Head gasket going under. All the way across, going under. All right, now, admittedly, that's a son of a bitch to get in. But I got it in. My head gasket's still in the right place. I got it in across the bottom. It's up there. Would appear my gasket is still in the right place. What a pain in the dick. But anyway, I digress. You got to see a lot of struggle in there. It is a struggle to get that all together without any problems. But enough about that. I'm going to put my cover bolts in, water pump. Yeah, and get this part here buttoned up and the head bolts torqued down. All right, so now I gathered up some of my bolts for the front cover. There are some top ones. There's two. I think there's 18 bolts all together that go in this cover, including the oil pan bolts and the one through the top of the head here. Yeah, make sure you got everything good before you use bolts to ever snug something up. If it's fighting or kinked or crooked or something, stop yourself. Hope I didn't just put that light right in the way of the camera there. But anyway, this is how you do this. Yeah, I'm using some of the wrong size bolts that he had in here before. But it's okay. There are some 14s and some 12s. I'll bring everything up reasonable before I crank them all down. I'm excited for this. I would love to see this thing run and go down the road proper. I can't wait to see how it runs after I go through the carb again. Plan to show you that. And bring some of the 12s down. And again, I'm trying to go around and do a bunch of them, all of them tight, and then I'll go around back and forth and snug them down. I don't know that there's a particular order that these go on, like the head. Got the front cover all on and bolted up, including the bolts that go in from the bottom for the oil pan. That was a bit of a struggle, I'll admit. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the water pump on. This won't take but a minute. I'm going to torque the head bolts down at the end of this, but since I'm on the front cover, figured I might as well go ahead and finish up on the front cover here. Now you got several bolts for your water pump. You have one really long one that goes down through the middle there. It's a bunch of 10s to put the water pump on, except for that one big long 12 there. Again, multiple fasteners on a weird shaped thing. I'll bring them all down, then I kind of go back and forth, side to side, crisscross, and tighten it down. All right, now I got all the water pump bolts nice and tight. I'm getting ready to do the head bolts, and I'm going to finish this up, but I thought I'd go ahead and put this drive on for the distributor and the oil pump, or the distributor and the fuel pump, because I've tightened this one down here. Don't forget that, dude. Yeah, sometimes the little ones that are obscure and out of the way, you can forget them. All right, this is a 19. I'm going to go ahead and put this on. It doesn't matter if it gets cranked down right now. The original one had holes in it to hold it. This one doesn't have any holes in it to hold it. I could hopefully get it cranked down on there real good by holding the crank against it though, but we'll see. Here, once I get to the end, we'll get her tight. Don't forget your half moon piece in the back of your head. Yeah, we're going to get those head bolts cranked down here in just a minute. I'm not sure what the torque is on this piece right here. That's pulling down pretty darn good though. I might just put my 19 on my impact and impact that. Now I got my little impact on 3 here, but I'm feeling good about that. If you want to use the proper torque spec, be sure and look that up. It is torque the heads down time. And according to everything I've read, it takes 3 torques. You torque it down to 1/3, and then 2/3, and then the full tightness. You want to Google your torque spec the same as I'm going to do and look that up. Come here, light. And not drop your light. I got such shitty lighting. I asked for lights and a microphone and all kinds of other fun stuff for Christmas. So hopefully I'll get some stuff to make my show a little better for you. I'm going to run all these down, and then I'll grab my torque wrench and I'll tune you back in here. Okay, I'm going to move you to the side here for a minute. And we're going to do this adjust the valves thing. Hope you can see. Does that shed a little bit of light? Let me move this one. Man, I am sorry for the shitty lighting here. I can see just fine, but for videoing, it doesn't really work. You got 5 sets of bolts. 1 and 2 are your center. If you do 1, then 2, do 3, then 4. If you do 1, then 2, do 3, then 4. Then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, then 9, then 10. All right, I got it wrote down. It's on the internet. I'm laying it here. I'm going to do this one. The torque is surprisingly low on these, but you're supposed to go around and do it in 3 stages. 1/3 of the torque each time. It isn't very much. You'll be surprised. And then skip to this one. Then this one. Then this one. Then this one, let's see, 5, yeah. 6, 7, okay, no, 7 would be that one back there. I have to take my extension off for this one. Might be able to get them all without it now that I'm looking at it. That one, then this one. Then this one. Then this one. All right, now I'm going to bump up to the next third. All right, and like I say, you look up your own torque specs. I don't give torque specs because if I give you the wrong information and fuck your shit up, I don't want that to be my fault. So look them up. And do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then the final sequence, or the final torque spec, and I'll go around those one more time. Well, all right, there you have it. New timing set now. New water pumps on. Front cover reinstalled. Seal is greased. I'm going to adjust the valves on this while I've got the valve cover off. I'll spin the motor around. That's going to be next time. I've got gauges I want to install. I've got the speed sleeve for the front seal here that goes over the harmonic balancer neck. I'll put the rest of this together. We'll do valve adjustment. So lots to come for the second part of this. I hope this didn't go on too long and it all made sense to you so far. Fixing this engine on the cheap, I can't wait to hear it run again, and I hope it runs better. Oh, I'm going to rebuild that carburetor again. That could be a whole nother video. So enough about that. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. Those are free, easy, and painless. I'd super appreciate it. Most of all, I appreciate you watching. If you don't do any of those things, but you still watch my show, I love you. I appreciate you. I thank you very much for it. You've seen this up to here. Come back for the next part. I don't know when that'll be exactly. Appreciate you. Have a super great day.